Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for
They were expecting a lively debate, something filled with interruptions, laughter, maybe even applause. What nobody anticipated was a silence so heavy that it felt like the entire room had frozen, including the cameras. It started the moment Donald Trump leaned back in his chair with a confident smile, as if he had already taken control of the night, and attempted to belittle Jimmy Kimmel in front of a national audience. He labeled him a lightweight, questioned his intelligence, and even mocked a law degree Kimmel had never claimed to possess. For a brief moment, it seemed like the crowd was waiting for Kimmel to respond with humor, but he didn't. Instead, he lowered his gaze to the desk, allowed a faint smile, and calmly said, "Mr. President, I'm glad you brought up education, because this is where things get interesting." From that instant, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The event was a live town hall, focused on American values, not a comedy routine, and Kimmel had made that distinction clear right from the beginning. His delivery remained steady, composed, and deliberate.
Donald Trump, who was at that time president of the United States, was so upset about my jokes that I made about him, he directed his staffers at the White House to call Disney to tell them to rein me in. The report says at least 2 calls were made from the Trump White House to, quote, convey the president's anger regarding Kimmel's monologues and jabs. In other words, President Karen demanded to speak to my manager.
Trump, meanwhile, dominated much of the early conversation, delivering lengthy responses about media bias, ratings, political opponents, and personal grievances, often sidestepping direct questions. The discussion then moved toward the Constitution and the boundaries of presidential authority. As Trump began circling back to his usual talking points, Kimmel gently stepped in and redirected the exchange toward the actual question being asked. That interruption changed the energy instantly. Trump turned toward him and fired back, saying, "You're a comedian, a low-rated one, a lightweight, and you think you're intelligent?" It was clearly intended as a sharp insult designed to provoke a reaction or laughter, but the room stayed completely silent. That silence made the moment feel even more intense and uncomfortable.
You'd think the guy who fathered Eric and Don Jr. would know how to handle jokes, but I guess not. The article says news of these calls spread around the corridors of power in Washington. Wow, what a plot twist. The first time Donald Trump ever tries to stop someone from talking about him on television, and it's me. Usually when he wants somebody to stop talking about him, he pays them $130,000.
Kimmel showed no visible frustration. Instead, he responded in a calm, controlled tone, saying, "I never claimed to have a law degree. You just invented that on live television." He paused briefly, then Kimmel showed no visible frustration. Instead, he responded in a calm, controlled tone, saying, "I never claimed to have a law degree. You just invented that on live television." He paused briefly, then shifted the focus entirely. "But since you brought up education, let's stay there." Reaching beneath the desk, he pulled out a folder. No theatrics, no dramatic buildup, just steady control of the moment. For years, you've called people stupid, judges, journalists, experts. But when someone constantly does that, people eventually start wondering why. Trump immediately dismissed it, calling it fake. Kimmel didn't react. "You haven't seen it yet," he replied calmly. That simple line shifted the atmosphere once again. He slowly opened the folder. "Intelligence isn't proven through insults," he said. "It's shown when you can handle a straightforward question without turning it into an attack." The room remained silent as he pulled out a single sheet of paper. "Let's keep this simple," he continued. "No tricks, no traps, just the Constitution." He held it up. The First Amendment, freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. Then he walked over and handed it to Trump. "Read it out loud."
Maybe it was one of the nicknames I was going through, like Tanny Soprano, Nostradamus, Emperor Palpatine Hands, Mar-a-Lardo, King Tutankhamun, the Hydroxy Horror Picture Show, Pumpkin the Corn Humper. Crab Ass Grandpa, Orange Julius Caesar, Ludicrous. I only have 100 more, okay?
Trump paused for a moment before beginning to read. His voice was noticeably slower now. He stumbled over a few words, paused briefly, corrected himself, and made a remark about the print size. The audience still didn't react. No laughter, no applause, only silence, which made everything feel even more intense. Once he finished, Kimmel immediately followed up. In your own words, what does the right to peaceful assembly mean? It was a straightforward question, not a trick or legal challenge, just a basic civic concept. Trump hesitated, looking down at the paper, then back at Kimmel. It means people can come together, he said. It means freedom. It's very good. We have great freedom. The answer lingered without depth or clarity. After a brief pause, Kimmel responded calmly. That's the problem. You can dismiss the question, but you still have to answer it. The audience reacted right away. Trump attempted to regain control of the moment, calling the situation unfair and biased, but each reaction only reinforced what had just occurred. Every deflection followed the same pattern: avoidance, redirection, and attack. Turning to the audience, Kimmel said, "Strong leadership isn't about calling everyone stupid. It's about being able to say, 'I don't know,' without anger." He paused again. That isn't strength, that's insecurity. Applause broke out quickly and loudly. The contrast had become clear to everyone watching. Confidence answers directly, while arrogance avoids. Confidence stays steady, while arrogance relies on noise and blame. Kimmel closed the folder. Maybe the smartest person in the room isn't the one who keeps saying it. Maybe it's the one who listens, thinks, and answers without insulting everyone first. The audience rose to their feet. Trump remained seated, visibly frustrated, caught in a moment he had set in motion himself. What began as an attempt to make Kimmel the target had instead reflected back on him. The moment spread quickly afterward, not because it was loud or chaotic, but because it revealed something simple and uncomfortable. When someone builds their identity around being the smartest in the room, even a calm question can become the hardest challenge they face.